Fidel Castro, famous for being a Cuban revolutionary who brought communism to the state after overthrowing Batista. However, he was also a big fan of baseball and has an interesting story regarding the sport. Castro was a pitcher at the University of Havana, where he began drawing the attention of scouts in the United States in the late 1940s. From that point forward, though, there are conflicting versions of Castro's true appeal as a pitching prospect and the lengths of some major league teams reportedly wanting to scout him. Some claim he was offered or accepted by several American teams. Some say he was rejected in tryouts because he was just too good for them, while others claim the whole thing was completely fabricated. Regardless of the truth, the question has to be asked. What if Castro actually became a professional baseball player for the U.S.? For this scenario, we'll assume that Fidel is scouted out in Havana in the late 40s and becomes an American professional baseball player. He plays for a while and criticizes the Batista government. Since he's in baseball in the 1940s, he does not join the Caribbean Legion like he did in our timeline to overthrow various authoritarian regimes. Come the late 1950s, Castro's role in the Cuban Revolution is very different. Instead of being a communist revolutionary, he becomes an ultra-capitalistic, pro-American revolutionary in Cuba. In 1959, the famous pitcher Fidel Castro seizes power in Havana and immediately is celebrated globally, especially in the United States. Cuba becomes a sports state as baseball moves its capital to Havana. Fidel joins JFK and Richard Nixon to secretly fight against zombies to show how much of a pro-gamer he is in the White House. During the first wave of zombies, Castro uses only a baseball bat before upgrading to an M60 to show how much of an epic gamer he really is. Kennedy and Nixon combined equal the kill count of Castro. Eisenhower congratulates the three on their new record, as he had previously held the record for most zombies killed in the White House when he teamed up with Tito and Truman in 1954. Castro takes out a Cuban cigar as Ike lights it up for him. The room is silent at the sight of these two epic gamers standing in the same room. The sight is breathtaking for Kennedy and Nixon to behold. After proving himself to be the best zombie slayer in the lobby, Cuba becomes the world's gaming capital, and every single video game is released in Havana. Things grow bigger and better for Castro when Nintendo moves its headquarters to Cuba, and all other video game developers do the same. Fidel pitches at each baseball game, and every game signifies a new video game has been released as well. In the 1970s, Shaggy Rogers immigrates to Cuba as he was promised a private tour of Havana's Scooby Snacks farms from the great pitcher himself, Fidel Castro. The lack of baseball in the Eastern Bloc causes the downfall of the Soviet Union, as Cuba has been given foreign aid to the US, NATO, and Western-backed states in the form of first-generation PC games throughout the Cold War. The 90s see all the post-Soviet states begging Castro for import rights to all video games and any sports teams that they can find. By 2000, Cuba is the richest country in the world since gamers have reached technology levels thought to be impossible. The release of Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Wii Sports makes immediate world peace, as all governments of the world are desperate to beat Matt in boxing and watch those wrist rockets while capturing a command post for the 501st. Havana's LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga dominates the global markets, with people preferring to buy it instead of food. Plants vs. Zombies is inspired by Castro's awesome White House zombie massacre of the early 1960s, with the sequel allowing you to play as Castro himself. A world peace has been achieved by Castro and his gamer state. He gives one last pitch in 2008 for the release of Iron Man, signifying that Cuba now hosts all comic book movies, animated shows, and that Havana has bought Star Wars from Lucasfilm after Castro saw the concept art for Star Wars The Clone Wars and became overwhelmed by awesomeness. Following the death of the great Fidel Castro, Tobey Maguire is elected as leader of Cuba following his Spider-Man 3 movie, where he received 100% of the vote when telling his opponents, Gru and Shaggy, that he would put some dirt in their eyes. This resulted in Gru and Shaggy starting to plot a coup to overthrow Maguire once they gained knowledge of the Finno-Korean Hyper War. The coup is to take place in 2012 with the release of Clash of Clans, since the pair had a monopoly on gems. Of course, this is just one possible scenario. If Castro became a professional baseball player, we may never know what would have happened had Castro gone pro. But what do you think would have happened had Castro become a professional pitcher? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.